Oh, welcome back to Shane's Main Shop. I made a cabinet for around my toilet and above it in the master bathroom, and I didn't do a video of making it. I did do a video of installing it, so you've probably seen that by now. But I decided I'm going to make another one for the other bathroom. Now, this one's going to be different because I have a little bit more room, so there'll be double legs going all the way down with some shelves in it. But I'm going to try and video part of the process along the way, so you can kind of see how I built that. And this is just scrap lumber, really. It was reclaimed. You can see there's nail holes, so it'll have a little bit of a rustic look to it. But basically, the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm no good at plans. I don't do a lot of planning. I just build. But I did take a few measurements, and basically, it's going to have 2 legs going up on either side of the toilet. So there'll be some shelves on both sides, a cap shelf, and then another cabinet that attaches down to that that'll go up and be wide like the other one to hold towels. And I just basically, what I need really is just measurements. I don't need a fancy dancy drawing. There's plenty of YouTubers out there that do a fantastic job with computer programs and designing these things. That is not me. So I just have some basic measurements here, and then I just kind of build as I go. So if you're interested, come along and I'll show you bits and pieces of this and, important stages maybe along the way. First thing I need to do is select 4 of these that'll be decent looking uprights. I'm going to be ripping them down, running them through the planer, cleaning them up, and then we'll go from there. So that'll be the first step. I won't show you all that because it doesn't matter, but I'll show you when we get to the next step. All right, so I got all these planed down. These are going to be the ones for the 4 uprights, 2 on each side of the toilet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 cap shelf. And then I planed an extra one down to cut the shelves from between these. And then later on, we'll do the upper cabinet section. But right now, I'm just doing the lower part. Incidentally, when I planed these down, I did do one of those oddly satisfying videos. So that'll come up if it's not up already. If you want to check it out, just watching stuff go through the planer and making a whole bunch of sawdust, then feel free to check that out. Now we got to go through these again and just select the ones we're going to use for the 4 uprights and the 2 shelf ones. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is cut these 4 upright leg pieces to the appropriate width. And they're going to be 6 3/4 wide when completed. But I'm going to check all of them and probably rip one side a little tiny bit off and then turn them around and put them all at 6 3/4, just so make sure both sides are cleaned up pretty good. It's kind of rough here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get ready to move on to the next step, which will be cutting them to length. Okay, so I got all these the same width now, and I did the shelf one as well, because that'll be going in between some of these. So I ripped that one down as well. I'll be cutting this knot out of it. I'll have shelves from here and here. Now we're going to get the 4 legs to the appropriate size. Now I wanted it to be 36 inches up, but these are already 36 inches. They were recycled from another job. So I'm just going to pretty much trim one end very slightly and then cut all the rest off, cut the other end off as little as possible just to get a square end. It's probably going to come out at 35 inches, which is still perfectly fine. All right, so now what I got to do is find out how wide these are going to be apart from each other, so I can cut down some of the shelves that are going between to give it the support and get ready to put the top on. Now, I know the overall width of this whole thing, I have room to play with, but 36 inches is the number I'm shooting for. And I also know that I need 20 inches in between here for the toilet. So I'm just going to spread these out here and just get a measurement. So I'm just going to do the math on that really quick to get this spacing. And once I have that, I can go ahead and cut. If I can get 4 shelves, that'll give me the support I need to keep these together. Then I can get the cap shelf ready for this lower section. So give me a couple minutes, I'm going to do that, and then we'll get some shelves cut. Okay, so what I did is I got my overall distance of 36. I need 20 in here. I take that away, it gives me 16 inches. That's 8 inches per side, but it can't be 8 inches because I got to take into account for the boards. So that brings me down to 6.5 inches for each shelf. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off Hopefully I can get 4 out of this. I'm not sure. 4 6.5-inch shelves, so I can start you know, putting these in these 2 particular upright legs. So that'll be next. 4 6.5-inch shelves. Now, of course, if you're watching this video because you plan on building your own, you have to do it all by your measurements of your particular situation. So obviously take that into account. If you don't have the same amount of space or a different toilet or whatever, you're gonna have to make modifications to your measurements. Now what I'm doing here is, you know, completely up to you if you want. I am trying to eliminate some of the knots here. So I did some measurements here and I'm able to get 2 shelves from in between these 2 knots. So I'm going to cut it off, you know, a little bit away from this knot, then get a 6.5, get rid of this knot, and hopefully get 2 more over here. If I have to leave a knot in here and there, that's fine. There's definitely going to be knots in this thing. You just can't escape it with the wood I'm using. It's just pine. But if I can get rid of some of these bigger ones, it might cause a problem when I'm trying to put a pocket hole screw in these shelves, put it in. That would be an issue. So get rid of them if I can, and that's what I'm doing next. Okay, after careful consideration, I can't make the shelves uneven. So the plunger is going to have to go somewhere else. Sit in front of it. Even talk to Tracy. She's also a Libra, so balance. It's going to drive me nuts if I don't. So there'll be no plunger spot in this shelf area. So these shelves will be even on both sides, and then a top shelf on top. So I just gotta figure out where I want that first shelf, make some measurements, and drill pocket hole screws in all of these shelves. So that'll be the next step. I'm gonna make the first shelf 1 foot up off the floor. So I'm gonna make that mark. And then from the inside of that shelf, I'm gonna go 9 inches up or 8.5 inches up to the next one. And that'll allow for 2 rolls of toilet paper stacked in there. And then whatever's left of space between this one and the next shelf, it is what it is. But they'll both be the same on both sides. So that's what we're going to do. And we can use that shelf for something else. So I just got to lay out the marks on these boards on the sides I want to use to have the inside of the cabinet. And then we'll draw the lines, glue things up, and start pocket hole screwing these things into position. And maybe I'll show you a little bit of that when I get to it. Let me just show you what I've done here so you can kind of like a little tip. I have my line where the shelf's going to be. I should have had it on the other side, but that's fine. I put the shelf in position on that line, and then I put this board behind it here and clamped it down. And what that's going to allow me to do is I can take this out quickly, put the glue, not have to try to fiddle around with it, get this positioning right. Once the glue's down there, put this back, put the pocket hole screws in, and then I can just remove this out of the way. And I'm going to repeat that process on every joint, you know, every single shelf, so that you know, I don't have to sit there and try to line it back up. With that board there, all I got to do is make sure it's correct left to right, put the screws in. Once that glue is dry, these things aren't going to go anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process, do the 2 on this one, then I'll put this board on top, repeat it, and then do the other side. All right, so this is what we have so far. I got the 2 shelves in both sides here, and this is not attached, it's just sitting here. I got my 20 inches in the middle, 36 inch overall. I'm probably going to make this top shelf a little wider. I should have made these slightly narrower because I really wanted an overhang on this shelf. So bad calculation on my part. But I still might be able to do that. I'm going to go measure the toilet. Maybe, usually when I measure, I give myself extra. So 20 inches might be more than I need. If it is, if I can just get 1 inch, I can have a 1/2 inch hangover on each side. And that's all I would need to round these over. You know, it would just be like, well, that's more than a 1/2 inch, obviously. But just a 1/2 inch round over, round all this over. I mean, a 1/2 inch hangover, then round it all over. But yeah, that's what we got so far. The toilet will be right here. The tank, top of the tank is right about here, so there's plenty of room to take the cover off. And then above this, we'll build an additional shelving unit that's going to go up on top. Okay, I'm not sure where I left off recording, but I did get a top here for it. Long enough it's going to work. Planed it down to clean it up. Get the best side facing the other way, of course. And I just drilled pocket hole screws in these leg portions. Glued it and screwed it down in there. Now we're going to go ahead and flip it over, and we'll be ready to either sand this or start on the top. I'm going to start on the top first so I can get them gluing and drying, and then I'll come back and sand this while that's doing doing the drying. So I just moved on to gluing the tops because this is one of the top sides and the other one's in behind here. And I just added a piece on because it's going to be similar to the other bathrooms that I did. It's going to go up and then curve out and then up. And then be a shelf and a shelf that are wider up top here and narrower at the bottom. In fact, this is going to get cut out some to make the curve. So, but those are going to dry up. While those are drying, I'll get back to this piece over here and start doing a ton of sanding, because any woodwork, the biggest job is sanding. All right, so I did quite a bit of sanding on the base, and I have the marks lined up here for where the top shelf is going to go on top part of this cabinet. I'm in the process of getting ready to glue together 2 sets of boards, and that'll be the 2 shelves for this wider section. Again, this is upside down, but there'll be a wide shelf here and a wide shelf on top. I just took this one out of the clamp so I can start clamping up the other one, and I'll be taking that one out here shortly. And like I said, there'll be this will be only like 7.5 or 6 3/4, and it's going to come up and then curve out like this somehow. I haven't really laid it out exactly yet. But both of those will be cut like that, and the first wide shelf will be quite a ways up. So as I was saying, before I had a coughing fit with all the sawdust, those are good. I'll unclamp that other one in a minute. I'll get those unglued and clamped, and then I'll get this one down glued and clamped, and while these are drying, then I can go back and start designing the curve on those uprights for the top part. And then I have one other thing I might build for this. I might have another upright here, and then put a very narrow one, and put some corner shelves in as well. I haven't decided on that yet. We'll see. Okay, I'm back from lunch, and I'm just getting ready to cut out the curve I need for this. And all I did was set a can on. Now I measured over the width of this part of the shelf, and I had a line there, and I just set the can on that line and kept it close to the bottom of this board here, and I used that to make my radius. And then I just set the can over here in the corner and used it to make this one here. Now I'll just connect these lines, and of course tape that off to the side, and then I'm gonna, cut this on the table saw to get a straight line. And then I'll just take this and lay it on the other one and duplicate that pattern, and then we'll get these cut out with the bandsaw. Now I'll use a table saw for this cut. I'll go all the way, part way up there, and then I'll finish it off with the bandsaw. So that is next. Okay, so I've got the tops of the cabinets cut, the curves in them, and you can see that. Like I said, there'll be one shelf here just above this curve and one on top. So those are ready to go. Got the pocket hole screws drilled in there. Again, we got that over there. I just sanded all these down. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and unclamp my shelves over there and start sanding those down and getting them cut to size. All right, I think I kind of skipped a little bit of showing you, but I know I showed you I got these cut out. I got this shelf cut to length and actually put in place. I don't have the top on yet. That's over there leaning against the bench. But I just got it sitting here to kind of see. Now I got to hold it so it doesn't fall. At the moment it's not attached. There's the base and this one, and then there'd be a wide shelf on the top equal to the width of this bottom. And I'm still thinking about putting a little corner shelf on each side right here. It'll start right there and work its way up. So we'll see. Let me get the shelf on the top of this and get this attached to the base, and then we'll go from there. We can kind of get a better look at it. I won't have to hold on to it with one hand. So I don't want it to fall over, because right now if I let go, it's going over. All right, so I got it put together here. You can see the top is on now. I get this clamp here. It's not falling, but I put the clamp just to ensure it doesn't fall forward, because it is a little front heavy. What I gotta do now is get it over in the light and do a lot of sanding, round over the top shelf, and then decide if I'm gonna put the little shelves on the side here, which I think I'm gonna. I think it'll look better. So that might be the next step if I can come up with some scrap wood, because this is all made out of scrap. This is recycled lumber that was part of someone's stair risers in their house. They redid their stairs and was gonna throw the wood away, so I took it. They gave it to me, so yeah, this will look great. So far, so good. That's where we're at. All right, so I decided I am gonna put these pieces on the side here, and they're not in yet. I just got them set in place, and then I'm gonna put some shelves, a couple shelving in here, and I got one on this side, just set in place. So I gotta drill pocket hole screws to put those in. Once I get them in place, I will start figuring out what I want to do for a shelf. It'll be some sort of angle shelf here. it goes back to the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and pocket hole screw these in, glue them in, and then we'll get that put together. I think it looks more balanced without those on it. It just looks too narrow on top, and then it jets back out for the shelf. So this is going to look a lot nicer. All right, guys, I got those fastened in. I still got to make the shelves for there. But right now I'm just sanding, doing a ton of sanding, rounding over all of these edges or easing them so they're not sharp. I still got to router the top shelf here, just the front and two sides. But basically, it's I'm at a point now, it's just sand, and more sand. So yeah, we'll get this thing sanded up, make the shelves for those. I'll sand those individually before I install them, and then router over this. We'll be able to get some stain on this thing. All right, so I'm actually starting to measure out and cut these shelves. This one's just sitting in there, but that's about what I'm looking for. And I don't know if I'm gonna put 2 or 3 in there. It's quite a run, so I need at least 4, probably 6. We'll see. But I'm just in the process of I planed them all down, cleaned them up, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut out as many as I can with what I got cleaned up here and see what I end up with. And it ends up being a 30-degree angle if you're interested. But again, you'd have to customize this to your space, but that's a 30-degree angle. Everything else has been pretty much square except for this funky curve I put in right here. Okay, I just want to show you what I've done here. Nothing is glued yet, but I figured out what I wanted for distance. So from here to here is 8 inches. This one's in the center, and then from here down is 8 inches, so they can be somewhat symmetrical. And what I did is I figured out what I needed for blocks in between each ones, so they'll sit on top of those blocks all the way down. And now I can apply my glue, brad nails, whatever I'm going to do, and then just pop all these little uprights out afterwards and use them to do the other side. And then everything will be even. That way I don't have to try to hold on to this while I'm trying to glue it, clamp it, and all that. Put these in, set first shelf, set those in, second shelf, put those ones in, third shelf. And I'm going to number these to bottom, middle, top, each of them, because they're different lengths. And that way when I bring them over to the other side, I don't have to try to figure it out again. About ready to end the day today, but I'll definitely be able to finish this up tomorrow. I got all these in place. They're all clamped, both sides. And it's all in. I still got this clamp here just because I know it's a little front heavy, so it's leaning against that just so it don't tip over. But yeah, there it is. It's hard to tell because there's all kinds of stuff behind it, but yeah, I think it's gonna look pretty good in that spot. All right, well, stick around. Tomorrow I'll get this thing sanded up the rest of the way, those new shelves, and get a stain on it and go from there. Okay, so I think I just showed in a different video of a product. The other thing I have to do is cut the contour of the mop board, and I use this tool here. I'll put a link in the description. Saker, I guess is how it's pronounced. I just put this up against my mop board, got the contour, and then I drew it on each of the legs. I don't know if you can see it there. So I got to go ahead and cut all 4 of those so it goes flush against the wall and just goes around the mop board. But now I'm just going to get ready here to start removing all these clamps, because I did finish these up last night, these shelves. And once these are removed, we just got to cut those contours, sand up these shelves, and then get this thing stained. All right, so I got it laying down here on the bench. I got these things sanded up, so we're in good shape there. The last thing I need to do now is I got the jigsaw out ready to go. I'm going to cut out these spots right here and then just sand that up and clean it up. I got to do each one of the 4 legs, and that'll be it. And then I can move on to staining. So, you know, overall not too bad for a scrap wood project, leftover stuff. So let me get those legs cut out, sanded up, and then we're going to start staining this thing. All right, so that is all sanded up and all stained. It's just drying right there for now. So that project is complete. I'll do a wrap-up video when I put it in place. But for now, we're going to be moving on to another project. So once that's in place, I'll do one last video. All right, well, we got this cabinet in place here. Started putting a couple things on it. Just got to do a lot of dusting and clean up from all the drilling, and we've actually repainted this bathroom too. So yeah, there it is in place. So hopefully you like this build. If you're interested, you know, you can leave a comment if you have a question. But again, you have to make yours to your size space. That's what I did. This will hold towels up here and here, and then not sure what we're doing here yet, but that's what we got so far. Thanks for swinging by Shane's Made Shop. Please like, subscribe, comment, come back often for more videos, Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.